All right. Tell me, with the Pythagorean theorem, tell me what the Pythagorean theorem is all about, Zora.
So a squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Right.
So, yeah.
So what
That's like the basic
what do we
formula.
call C in this? What kind of triangle is this?
A right triangle.
And in a right triangle, what do we call the side that's opposite the 90-degree angle?
The hypotenuse.
Right. So that's the hypotenuse. And the Pythagorean theorem, as you just said a minute ago, says that the length of side A squared plus the length of side B squared equals the length of side C squared. Or another way to say that is the square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the square of the other two sides. Now, and I know we've done this before, so you better have the answer to this one. But if I knew, if I know A and B, I can square A and square B, and that sum is going to equal C, and then I could take the square root of that sum, and I'd know how long side C was. But what if I knew the hypotenuse and side A? Could I figure out what B was?
Yeah. You could just substitute in the equation. So if you knew like just side A, you didn't know what side B was, then you could say it would be C squared. So you just switch it around. It'd be B squared equals C squared minus A squared.
Yeah, we just used algebra and brought the A over there. We subtracted A from both sides, and so we could rewrite that B squared equals C squared minus A squared, and then we could use that to figure out what B was. Okay, I got another triangle here, and it doesn't say this, but I'm telling you that that's a right angle and that's a right angle. So with that information, can you figure out what the perimeter is? And I'll be your pen. You just you tell me what to write on the screen, and I'll be your pen, and I'll write whatever you tell me to write. So we're trying to figure out what the perimeter is.
Okay.
Think out loud. Tell me what you're trying to understand.
First, we should figure out what the white line is in the middle. So you can put that into the equation.
Let's give that a name. What do you want to call that?
X. Okay, so you could say x squared plus 6 squared equals 10 squared.
Yep.
And then you could change it to x squared equals 10 squared minus 6 squared.
Uh-huh.
And then, so x squared equals 100 minus 36, which is 100 minus 36 equals 64. And then the square root of 64 is 8. Okay. So x equals 8.
So we now know that that side is 8.
Okay, and then to figure out the line next to 6.
That?
Yeah, that one.
What do we call that now? Let's give it a name.
Y. Okay, so 17 squared equals 8 squared plus y squared. And then you could say y squared equals 17 squared minus 8 squared. So 17 squared is 289, and 8 squared is 64. So 289 minus 64 equals 225, and then so square root of 225 is 15.
Okay, so now we don't, that's no longer y, that's 15.
Yeah.
And now the question is, what's the perimeter?
So you just add them. So it would be 10, 16, 15 is 31, plus 17, 48.
48. Good job. Now, let's talk about trig. And tell me what trig's all about.
Figuring out the angles. Like Pythagorean Theorem is for the sides, but trig is more figuring out the angles. If you know some of the angles or some of the sides, you can figure out the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of boils down to there's a, for any angle, for any combination of angles, there's going to be a relationship between the angles, the size of the angle, and the length of the sides. And that's what trigonometry is all about. If I got a triangle, and again, we're going to call the vertices or the angles A, B, and C. So I got angle A, I got angle C, and I got angle B. And then we'll call the sides small a, small b, small c. There's a relationship between this angle and that length. I mean, if this angle were bigger, if this angle were, well, let's go this way. If this angle were smaller, that would be a smaller side. If this angle were bigger, side B would be a bigger side. So there's a relationship between the size of the angle and the size of the sides, and that's what trigonometry taps into, and it's really cool. I mean, I love trigonometry. I think it's really a neat subject. See if I can erase that. There we go. Okay, so what I just flash up on the screen?
The kind of formulas for trig.
Tell me what they are.
So stands for sine, and sine equals opposite over hypotenuse.
Right.
So opposite divided by hypotenuse. And the second one is cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse.
Right.
And the third one is tangent, which is the opposite over the adjacent.
Exactly. So those are the three primary trig functions. Sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent equals opposite over adjacent. Okay. And I've kept that up there, but you by now you know those relationships. You don't need this pneumatic memory tool here, but SOHCAHTOA is what you use to remember what the trig functions are all about. Well, let's say I knew what angle A was. Angle A is this angle up here at the top of the triangle, and it's 22 degrees. And side A equals 6, and side B equals 8, and side C equals 10. Okay?
Yeah.
What's the sine of angle A?
A equals 6 divided by 10.
Yeah, which is
so 3/5.
Yeah, but as a decimal, what would that be? Because usually you're given trig functions in decimal form.
0.5, no, 0.6.
0.6. How about the cosine?
You do 8 over 10, so 0.8.
Yeah, exactly. How about the tangent?
You do 6 over 8, so
You can use your calculator.
0.75.
Yep. Okay. Now, if I knew that the sine of angle B was 0.483, and I knew that side B was 22 units long, could I figure out what side C was?
Yeah.
I'll be your pen. You go ahead and tell me what to write.
Okay. So you do 0.483 equals 22 over C. So then
Now all we got to do is solve.
0.483 C equals 22. So 22 divided by 0.483.
What's that equal?
22 divided by 0.483 equals 45.55.
Perfect.